We can't live without water on our planet. It plays a crucial role in our daily lives. We drink it, grow crops, generate energy, and produce goods. Its importance extends beyond human consumption, with everything from wild animals to the smallest flowers in our gardens needing water to survive. Unfortunately, our groundwater reserves are depleting, and the world is getting drier by the day. So what can we do to address this growing problem? That's what we'll talk about today. Hello and welcome to Eco India. I'm Sanuta Raghu. Now, despite being a planet made up of 97% water, only 3% of this is potable. Conserving this water and finding ways of reusing and recycling it is the need of the hour. A promising initiative in Bengaluru is already working on this. Let's take a look.
Bengaluru is a large city in southern India, where not all residents receive running water. It's mostly only the more affluent section that does. But experts say that the problem isn't a lack of water supply to the city.
The calculation of the requirement of a metropolitan city is using certain standards which I think are outdated. So for example, we now calculate at 200 litres per capita per day. But most European cities now aim for 100 litres per capita per day. If you take that figure, Bangalore has sufficient water. It gets 1,450 million litres from the Kaveri for a 14 million population. And it gets a supplement of between 500 to 600 million litres per day from groundwater. So there's actually no scarcity of water resources. It's a question of getting some water for all and making sure that water distribution systems are more equitable and just.
Some citizens are working to save water to further this cause. Shivanand Prabhu lives in an apartment complex in North Bengaluru. He and his residents' association are looking for a way forward.
We should not reach to that stage where the water is not there at all for consumption. So we have to start conserving the water now itself. Our basic concentration was on water conservation. We found that the water which is used in apartments, individual apartment, is being wasted.
First, his group of residents fitted taps with aerators that reduced the flow of water by 80%. Then they set up a rainwater harvesting system to meet their needs for 1 month. They also recycled their sewage and used it in toilets and for gardening. And all these savings added up.
It comes to around 1 crore litre of water. So this much water we could save in our apartment. That means 1 crore litre of water we stopped extracting from the borewell.
While 10 million litres of water saved in a year is significant, the group wanted to do more. So they set up 8 recharge wells under the apartment to help replenish the water table. They did all this with the help of Citizens Action Forum World of Water. Its founder has worked in this area since the late 1980s, trying to bring more people into the fold.
What is the idea? To bring in lay people, housewives, physicians, chartered accountants, anybody who is concerned about his or her city and who wants to see if he or she can make some change happen, while they all understand that there is a crisis on water.
Through bi-weekly meetings, the forum has reached 50,000 people. It estimates that these conversations have saved 50 billion litres of water per year in Bengaluru. They've used methods similar to those employed by Saras apartments, like sewage treatment plants, rainwater harvesting, smart meter installations, and aerator fitting.
It's about sensitizing. It's about constantly bringing more people into the fold and having existing people tell more stories of the work that they are doing in a way that such success stories can be hopefully emulated by others.
Another Bengalurian taking it beyond residential complexes is Garvita Gulhati. When she was a teenager, she read that 14 million litres of water every year are wasted in glasses that customers don't finish in restaurants. The revelation resulted in a youth-led campaign called Glass Half Full.
The goal was to try to understand what is that solution that would work well for all of us, and that's when we came up with the idea of Glass Half Full.
The campaign now has the support of the National Restaurants Association of India, which helps spread its message. With their support, the campaign has managed to change the policies of around 1,000 restaurants. But they also work with volunteers, like the female members of the Rotary Club, who pay regular visits to restaurants, schools, and housing societies to raise awareness among more citizens.
In this era, water is not a spectator sport. It's a participation sport. Citizens should become aware of the various ways that they can impact water positively. Can we engage in community action in cleaning up our lakes, rivers, ponds, and streams? All these are possibilities for citizens. Can we harvest rainwater? Can we get our children to be wise about water use?
Campaigners hope more citizen cooperation can generate a higher amount of water that will reach all residents of Bengaluru.
Access to clean drinking water is becoming scarce in several regions around the world due to heat and drought. In many of these areas with limited sources of water nearby, like rivers, lakes or wells, communities struggle to find a solution. But fog harvesting in areas where fog is common could provide much needed relief to them. Let's find out how.
The humidity they bring is a treasure. Clouds of fog shroud the mountains of Spain's Gran Canaria. At a time of increasing drought and water scarcity, every drop of water in them is a blessing. Here, as many as possible of these drops are being captured in nets. Monitoring the process is the job of Saúl Oliva Cabreras. Even when there is no fog, the environmental technician has work to do.
I'm checking if the filters here are intact and if there's rubbish.
What do you mean by rubbish?
They can get dirty from sand or leaves. Sometimes there are tiny dead animals too.
15 collectors were installed here 2 years ago. It's a fairly simple system which requires a fog location and a bit of wind. When fog moisture or raindrops accumulate on the mesh, the water drips down into a tank and then flows directly into storage units at different locations downhill via a multitude of hoses.
With the collectors that we have here, we could catch 300,000 liters of water per year, according to the manufacturer. To date, we have captured 45,000 liters. We are, of course, dependent on the weather. There are years when I can catch much more, and others when it will be less. Our goal is to reach 250,000 liters per year. To achieve that, we can't rely solely on this traditional model, but we'll also use newer designs that may be able to harvest even more water.
Oliva Cabreras and the team of environmental experts he works with need more water for 20,000 new trees. Only a few minutes' drive from the fog collectors, they are restoring an area that was ravaged by flames in 2019. It was the worst wildfire on the island of Gran Canaria in recent history. The blaze devoured 10,000 hectares. The scars it left are still visible today. Different restoration projects are in full swing across the area, including on this hillside, where 35 hectares are being revived to tackle desertification. Rising global temperatures make Spain's Canary Islands increasingly vulnerable to drought and fires. Still fragile, new tree seedlings are bedded in a biodegradable cocoon. It ensures that the water that was harvested from the collectors won't evaporate too quickly and boosts the tree's survival rate. Natalia Marrero Avila leads the team here. To her, this project is more than just a job.
I live close by. I saw the first cloud of smoke from the wildfire and kept my suitcases in the car waiting to be evacuated. In the end, it wasn't necessary. But at least now I have the opportunity to restore the affected area. The island is part of me, but this place in particular, it's in my heart.
The team have already planted half of the trees for the Live Nieblas project, which has received millions of euros in financing from the local government and EU. The deposits of fog water are currently emptied manually, but researchers are trialing a storage system that releases the water autonomously into areas where it is needed. They have observed that the system has already improved soil moisture in areas where they planted new trees. It's giving the team here hope that their job will bear fruit someday soon.
This is a small pocket of laurel trees, and it's a living example of what we want to achieve in the Pinillo area.
It's all thanks to fog created by the coastal climate and clouds ascending to the cooler mountain region. A similar project has also been set up in Portugal. In both locations, experts are examining whether fog catching could be an effective way to protect against drought and fires in other arid climates across the Mediterranean and beyond. Similar systems in Chile and Morocco supply water to small villages. For farmer Germán Cardona, the fog catchers could be a game changer. His land is in walking distance of the collectors. He lost up to 10 hectares of pear, apple and nut trees in the 2019 fire of Gran Canaria. Fast-growing ferns have now taken over what was once an orchard.
The fire burnt everything to the ground. Nothing was left, only charred soil.
This year, though, he planted again apple trees, and during the hot, dry months, his neighbors from Live Nieblas supplied water. In the past, Germán Cardona was dependent on rainfalls.
Every year the summers get longer and it rains less. It rains less in winter too, and it's more difficult to maintain everything. Because without water, nothing works. That's why the fog water is genius. It's the solution. Because here we don't have any way of watering. There's no irrigation system, and there are no wells. There's no water. There's only rain and fog catchers.
In preparation for the hot summers, he wants to install his own fog collectors to make the most of a resource that is right within reach. In the face of the deepening climate crisis, it is not clear how reliable fog events will be, but once the new trees are bigger, they will at least stabilize the local climate and protect somewhat against heat and desertification.
In the long run, we will remove the collectors because the reforested area will at some point take on the work of harvesting humidity. That's how forests work. They capture the humidity and store it in the soil.
For Saúl Oliva Cabreras and the team, every tree matters. Gran Canaria is counting on its fog collectors to help heal the wounds of the devastating wildfire and safeguard the island against future disaster.
Drinking water is very unevenly distributed around the world, with hot and arid regions in Latin America, Asia and Africa facing severe shortages. When dams are built, this can worsen the water crisis for nearby regions and communities, like we've seen in and around China and Ethiopia. Exporting drinking water can also have serious impacts. Let's take a look at how this is playing out in Lesotho.
Water-rich Lesotho is keeping thirsty South Africa alive, but the tiny landlocked country is paying a high price for it.
We didn't anticipate that the dams here in Lesotho will bring the misery that is bringing.
I see nothing of the better life that they promised us. If it were up to me, I would decide against building the dam.
The need for water by South Africa remains high, and the source of such water remains the Lesotho Highlands Water Project.
We have been able to divert water to South Africa, but we are limited by the quality of our environment.
Phase 2 of the Lesotho Highlands Water Project started 3 years ago. One of 5 dams is being built here to supply water to neighbouring South Africa. The entire village has been moved to another location.
The construction work hit us hard. They had promised us jobs. Our children are supposed to be earning something from this, but instead they're out of work. While other people and South Africans get the jobs, we go hungry. They also took our fields.
The cornfields and grazing land now house construction workers. Far from leading to greater prosperity, the dam has brought misery for residents, driving 8,000 people from their homes. The water will flow to South Africa's financial hub Johannesburg, 400 kilometres away. For the 16 million people in the city and surrounding province, Lesotho's dams are vital and already provide 60% of their water. Since the project is financed with South African taxpayers' money, Julius Kleinhans has been monitoring it for a long time. He works for the organisation Outer, which seeks to expose corruption and mismanagement.
Urbanisation is taking place, and future development and expansion of business needs more water. And the problem is we're only very limited to the water that we have in South Africa. We don't have innovative technologies and circulated infrastructure yet to recycle water. And currently we highly rely on the Lesotho Islands Phase 2 scheme to provide future demands.
It's one of the largest infrastructure projects in Africa and is supposed to benefit both sides. South Africa pays Lesotho nearly 70 million euros a year for the water, and Lesotho uses the dams to generate electricity for its population. The local project manager from the Lesotho Highlands Authority tells us that in 5 years' time, the dam wall will stand right here. 5,000 hectares of land will then be flooded.
As we are all aware, this kind of projects would have social impacts and environmental impacts. And we, as the project, have a number of programs which had been discussed and agreed with the communities as ways and means of mitigating against the loss of land and the loss of grazing areas and production land.
Muthusi Sekwi heard exactly the same promises 24 years ago when the Katsa Dam was built. All other dams feed their water into this reservoir from where it's piped to South Africa. Sekwi works for the Seyanoli Legal Centre.
The project was conceived by 2 undemocratic governments of South Africa, apartheid regime and the military regime in Lesotho. Those governments did not have mandate from the people. There is a need for the review of this treaty.
The project is also threatened by massive soil erosion. The construction of the dams, along with overgrazing and climate change, mean that more and more soil is being eroded by the rain and ends up in rivers as sediment. In many places, only bare rock remains. Taole Tisele is a consultant for a national project that aims to protect Lesotho's rivers. Workers here are building low walls into the hillside to reduce the speed and force of rainwater runoff and prevent erosion. They also remove invasive shrubs that would otherwise wipe out endemic plants whose roots help to keep the soil in place.
With the current erosion, the life of such dams would be fairly compromised, the lifetime, because in no time they will be more full of sediment than water. So this would be lost investment. In my opinion, we are at the brink of saving this or letting it fall.
Now, Japanese researchers recently published the results of their large study on how much water humans need every day. According to this research, bio-individuality plays a big role, which means water intake needs to vary from person to person based on their habits. Our thirst has been monetized by the beverage industry, which is dominated by large corporations for decades. Small local producers get a raw deal, even though they're often more sustainable when it comes to water use. Let's take a look at an example of this in Tamil Nadu.
Fill up the bottles, put them in place, carbonate, and chill. In a nutshell, that's how Goli soda is made. 65-year-old Subramani has been making the soft drink in the city of Erode in Tamil Nadu for more than 50 years, using salt, water, fruit juice, and flavoring.
Education was the least of my interests since I was 10 years old. So I got into the business of making carbonated drinks early. It took 17 long years to learn the nuances of the business. This experience gave me the confidence to start up my own carbonated drink business.
The beverage has been popular in India since the 19th century. Environmentally friendly from the get-go, the soda is all natural and the bottles are washed and reused. Subramani's son says it's a lot of work, but the effort pays off in taste.
Our products have a 2-day shelf life because they're chemical-free. Our signature paneer soda, our most unique flavor, tastes like pure rose, and it's very popular in Erode. We offer a total of 4 flavors: ginger, orange, cola, and our signature paneer soda.
Subramani used to sell to local businesses, but he stopped with advancing age. Now he has his own shop. Every day he sells up to 200 Goli sodas and as many as 600 on weekends in the distinctive dented bottles. There are other Goli soda makers in Erode who have their own online presence, use machine production, and offer a broad palette of flavors. But Subramani isn't afraid of the competition. He's committed to doing things by hand. With his small beverage factories, Subramani also supports other local businesses, since all of his ingredients are locally sourced. He doesn't use preservatives, unlike most of the international soft drink producers that Goli soda is competing against. Many small soda manufacturers fear big names will squeeze them out of the market and stress the regional water supply. Those concerns have fueled political activism, including protests in 2017. The original trigger was a ban on traditional bull taming, a decision that outraged many people here. But another issue emerged: calls for more protection of local markets from international beverage producers.
Everyone demonstrated against foreign carbonated drinks as well during the Jallikattu protests. As traders, we supported that because we never sold the foreign beverages, but we still see how a lot of people prefer them. If our shop didn't offer foreign beverages, people would just go to other shops and bakeries to get them.
Pragmatism instead of pessimism, a recipe that Sravanan and his father believe will help them in the future. Goli soda has always been about recycling and selling locally, desired traits today. After all, avoiding waste and reliance on distant supply chains is becoming more important in the era of climate change.
I want to make sure that all of our soda products are available in all the local shops and villages.
I am confident that my son will one day take over the family business and run it successfully.
Goli soda has proved that sustainability doesn't necessarily require a revolution. Sometimes you only need to uphold everyday traditions. It's up to the younger generation to recognize those traditions and maintain them.
We exist because water does. I hope this has been your takeaway from today's episode. Conserving water is imperative for the survival of our species and other living organisms on Earth. I'll leave you with that thought and see you again next week. Goodbye and thanks for watching.